Endocrine system, and first thing that you have to know is that the endocrine system, with all the other systems in the body, play an important role in homeostasis, and that's maintaining a constant internal environment.
And know the definition.
Yeah, and unfortunately we don't have time to talk about all the hormones in your body because they're very interesting. But what we are going to concentrate today is the negative feedback system. And the negative feedback system, there are many, but we're doing it with relation to the endocrine system. It's a mechanism that operates to detect changes and imbalances in this internal environment and then to restore the balance. Now, what is an exocrine and an endocrine gland?
Well, there you can see exocrine glands. Know an example, for instance, your salivary glands in your mouth. There it secretes the substance that is secreted, will be secreted into your mouth and will go down the esophagus, and which means that it goes into a special duct. Whereas an endocrine system, you can see that whatever is secreted directly into the
Endocrine
bloodstream.
glands secrete hormones into the bloodstream. Right, there are many endocrine glands. You have to know them. Go and have a look in your textbook. You have to know the name of the hormone, the gland that secretes the hormone, the function of the hormone, and what happens when you have too much or too little.
Yeah, many books will refer to it as an over-secretion and an under-secretion.
An under-secretion. There you've got another picture. This is just growth hormone, and under-secretion causes dwarfism, over-secretion, gigantism. And this is where we want to get to. Colin.
Yeah, if they have seen last year's paper 2, they would have seen that this was part of paper 2, and it was it was an essay question, 15 marks on the negative feedback of the regulation of the blood sugar level. So what happens when the blood sugar level is too high? You see, it's a high blood sugar level. Let's take this as our starting point. That will, of course, stimulate certain cells within the pancreas to produce or secrete more insulin. And the insulin has a very important function, and that is to lower that high blood sugar level. And how does it do it? It is to take it or convert it into glycogen, and the glycogen is then stored within the liver cells and in the muscle cells, right? There you can see within the liver, this glucose is converted. So the yellow is an indication of when the blood sugar level is too high.
And now it's lowered.
Yes, and now when it becomes too low, and your body uses up sugar all the time. So what happens when it is too low? Then, of course, these stored, the liver and remember we said the glucose is now stored in the form of glycogen in the liver and the muscle cells. So this glycogen must be converted back into glucose. You see, glycogen back into glucose, and it raises the blood sugar level.
Yes, and what makes sure that glycogen is turned back into glucose? The hormone glucagon. So when we talk about negative feedback with the sugar level, it's about the pancreas secreting its two hormones, glucagon and insulin. Insulin is secreted when there's a high blood sugar level. When the blood sugar level drops, insulin secretion is stopped. When the blood sugar level drops too low, glucagon secretion is stimulated to let the blood sugar rise again. And then when it's too high again, the whole thing starts all over again. So please go and make sure. It's such a pity because we can actually spend the whole session just on this.
The next slide. Just the next slide. Yeah. Let's just ask them to give us the answers.
We don't have the time really, Colin, but let's quickly go through this.
Okay. Here we have the pancreas. We only have a few minutes, but let's quickly see. So when the glucose level increases, it must be lowered. So insulin is secreted.
Okay.
The liver and muscles, what happens? Glucose is converted into glycogen. The glucose level will decrease, and the glucose level will become normal again. But what happens if if it is too low? It decreases. Then what will be released? The pancreas release glucagon. That's the hormone, and then the liver and muscles convert the glycogen back into glucose, the glucose level increase, and it is normal again.
There you can see that the concentration of the glucose actually controls the concentration of the glucose.
Sorry that we didn't ask you the question
Yeah,
there,
it's
about time.
Yeah, it's so
that
sorry.
we don't have.